The following is a presentation of iRacing on PTR TV. We'd like to thank all of our channel partners for their support. Please like and subscribe to the channel, and we hope you enjoy today's broadcast.
This time, we take a break from the historic tracks of the Circuit de la Sarthe in Le Mans, France, and Daytona for a new track, but a track that is still very exciting and its own unique sets of challenges. This time, we are here at Autodromo Internazionale dell'Algarve, better known as Portimao. Welcome back, everybody, to another round of PTR TV Elbows Out Racing. And it is time for 60 minutes at Portimao, a relatively new circuit, all things considered. It was opened in 2008 and has seen very little changes since then. It is used in motorcycle racing and multiple different racing series across the globe, including European Le Mans and Formula One. And this time we're going to take our turn at this 15-turn circuit, 2.85 miles around, for some high elevation changes and overall good racing. My name is Patrick Coleman, and it's a bit of a different commentary duo. It'll be myself alongside Corey Silva, who you've seen here on the channel covering a wide variety of our Oval series. Corey, how you doing tonight?
Good. Always fun to do something a little bit different here. Not my first forte here in Elbows Out, nor my first forte in some multi-class style racing, but Brad is currently down at the Rolex, prepping for that down in Florida, so happy to help him out here at Portimao for what should be a good race. Couple little things here from the back end. We will have our 3-class ticker up, so our GTD class will be consolidated, but you still will be able to know who is what. They will have pro tags on their names, as we have a couple drivers here out for the last minute of qualifying, just getting their last a little bit of practice here before the main affair.
Indeed, yeah, and with it being 4 classes here, it's going to make things really interesting because unlike La Sarthe and Daytona, where those tracks have a lot of straights, we saw the track map a bit earlier on, there's not as many straights that drivers can really utilize here. You got the main straight out of the final corner known as Gulp all the way into Premiera, and then you pretty much got from turn 4 all the way to Tor Vip, which is the really sharp left-handed hairpin. So we're already seeing drivers going off. There's a lot of elevation change at this track. It has a lot of similar characteristics as as Catalunya, the circuit, wow, English is not my strong suit here tonight. But, I mean, hey, usually myself and Brad usually get our tongues a little twisted, so it's all part of the standard PTR TV spectacle. But
does make me feel a little bit better, Patrick, because you did say this track did look like Catalunya, and I'm not too versed with it, but that was the first thing that I saw here. Couple good passing zones, technical bits, hairpins, sweepers, kind of everything that you're looking for. But we are ready and heading down trackside for our starting lineup, and we'll start things off with our GTP class, Patrick.
Indeed, yeah. So in the GTP, we're starting things off. Cody Perodado in an all too familiar first place position. Alongside him is Ethan Murphy in the Cadillac. Then we have Tyler Stenik and Nick Terrell in row 2, followed by Aiden Garcia and Dwight Hibbs. Acura versus BMW in row number 3. And Zachary Nerney will be the last of our GTP runners here on the grid in P6 in class. Brian Medley takes up the first LMP2 spot alongside Maxwell Woodmansee. And then in the next row, it's Kel Haugen, Kyle and Bruce. 2 drivers known for their rapid pace here tonight. Then just behind them is Liam Bronco and Dylan Ackley. And then Emily Milkey rounds out the LMP2 field here tonight.
And that leaves you with
and then we head to our GTD Pro. Hugo Alexander Ortiz and Chris Stewart taking up the first row into GTD Pros. And then it is Joshua Bibb and Matthew Markley taking up row number 2. Joel Bandera, Nathan Hemperly in row number 3, followed by Nicholas Paletti and Christopher Ondera. And then continuing down the line, we have Michael Bowman. It's Porsche on Porsche with Benjamin Bechtel alongside. And then we have Andre Wedderburn and Steve Groninga there. I know me and Brad had a fun time pronouncing that name last week in Daytona. Speaking of Daytona, we have Dayton McGuire and Christian Cardona going side by side here, followed by Craig Yor and Kyle O'Grady, who is this week's race sponsor, alongside Bob Carey and Matthew Marin. P17 and P18. Kevin Schulman, who I believe is a brand new driver this week, alongside Mike Sermon in P20. And then Daniel Pinard and Aaron Klebaugh in P22. And then we have Seth Bosselman and Joseph Flew rounding out our grid here tonight. So that is our entire field. 38 cars ready to take on Portimao. Partly cloudy skies here. It should be right at about 40 laps if all things are considered. Rain is not going to be a factor in this race, so drivers can expect a dry run here in Portimao. So the track already provides a good amount of opportunities to spin out as is, so I'm sure the drivers will enjoy that one quite a bit. The little bit of extra relief from the rain, as we are about to get ready for our pace lap here. I know you don't really know too much about this track here, Corey, but any bold predictions from you here tonight?
Well, the opening complex is, it's basically a 90-degree right-hand corner with a flick, and then you have turn 3, which is more or less a hairpin. So I expect a lot of chaos in this sector as they open up. And then once you get through turn 4, a nice little sweeper, Patrick. Turn 5, a long straightaway into probably what I would say turn 5, the best passing opportunity on the track. So getting these 38 cars, again, through the opening couple kinks so we can get ourselves stretched out. That's going to be the challenge. And I know that Cody was telling me that traffic and difference in pace between the classes is going to be huge. As Brad always says, traffic giveth and traffic taketh. And that seemed to be a big concern among some of these drivers in what I was told in the opening.
Yeah, because unlike the last 2 tracks that we have visited, Daytona obviously has the long straights, the NASCAR bankings, lots of really good overtaking opportunities. The Circuit de la Sarthe, Le Mans, has the Mulsanne straight and a lot of other really good straight line overtaking opportunities. This track, on the other hand, it's very twisty. It is very narrow. So you don't really have a lot of opportunities to get moves done here. Traffic is going to be a real tough cookie to crack, especially in Sector 2. Pretty much right after that Turn 5 hairpin that you were just talking about, pretty much right after that, it's pretty much just follow the leader, maybe get a run through Gulp to try to get some overtakes on the final corner of this track. Turn 15, the very wide sweeping left-hander. As our classes get underway, doing their formation, we have the GTPs now leading the field. 7 GTPs to go ahead and get things, 6 GTPs to get things rolling here. Should be a fun one here. The GTPs always provide some really, really good action. LMP2s as well had some really good battles. GTD and GTD Pro is where a lot of the excitement was at Daytona. But I think the big factor here, especially for our top guys running tonight, is going to be that traffic management. I think traffic management is going to make or break the race for a lot of these drivers. Yeah, so if they can't get past traffic, or worse, if they run into traffic, then this race has the potential to be a race to forget for some of these top guys.
Yeah, luckily you do have the opportunity with the hairpins here, not so much a wall-defined track like a street circuit or a place like Montreal where you're very confined. There is a lot of real estate here, very wide track, so that will have some benefit in that traffic management ball game, but we'll see how it all progresses here as they come and do their pace lap. Again, we're estimating right around 39 laps, give or take how the leader's pace is. What will we be looking for a strategy game with how this plays out, Patrick?
In terms of this track is probably going to have some of the highest degradation that we have seen so far out of any of the tracks that we have currently been at. Definitely expect some tire wear shenanigans to especially take place because of turn 15, because turn 15 is such a sweeping corner. You're going to take that at high speeds, especially when you're trying to get around traffic. So, I mean, it's probably going to be within the, I would say probably, you're going to see GTPs probably pit in first is what I would imagine, but I have been wrong before. So you do have to take all 4 tires and elbows out. You cannot take only 2 sets of tires, which in these type of cars, I don't understand particularly why you would want to take anything less than 4 tires, but a 4 tire stop is required. So probably maybe the last 25 minutes or so in this track, I would definitely say we're going to see some pit stops, maybe a bit earlier for the GTPs, but we'll just kind of have to see how it all plays out. Safety cars or anything of the sort do normally play a factor, but I don't think it's going to be the case here today. I think we're going to be full speed pretty much from here till the end of the race, as I believe the safety car is about to come on in, or nope, I think we do. No, it does come in right here. Yep. And here it goes. It's coming into the pits now, and we are ready to go racing here. GTPs are about to send it live. Once they hit that next line, it is going to be full speed, full throttle. They're going to press the loud pedal, and we are racing here in Portimao. Cody Peridotto holding the lead now. Nick Terrell in that Scooby-Doo Porsche trying to make a move, trying to at least shake for one. Good position there, but Ethan Murphy just sends it around the outside. Beautiful pass right in turn 2. And now a bit further back, it's the LMP2's turn to go ahead and take the start. The time is ticking and the LMP2s are away. Let's see how they go ahead and get things rolling here. You got the GTDs right behind, and very good start there. And very good getaway there. And a spin! A spin, I believe that is Kylan Bruce.
Yep, and the 54 said the opening couple corners were going to be difficult. And we have some GTD trouble right there. That's Hugo Alexander Ortiz. I believe he was the pole sitter. And he went around. Let's quickly get a gander at that. Yeah, he was the pole sitter in the pro division. Enter in turn 1, got beat on the outside line and self-induced spin.
Yeah, probably just a bit too much throttle there. And I mean, you got to be careful on the throttle. And the Porsche in particular is a car that will like to kick out on you. And it's always been that way since the first ever road-going Porsche 911. And now we have Joshua Bibb, who is currently trying to make hay while the sun shines. Currently the leader in GTD. And now we'd have a battle here in the LMP2s. Kjell Haugen trying to chase down Maxwell Woodmansee, the blue number 49 LMP2. The young man is going to go ahead and do everything he can to try to get that P2 position, as Brian Medley has had a fantastic start in P1, about 2 seconds away almost already. And once again, Ethan Murphy, he had a lightning start. Guy Cody Peridotto on the first lap, but now He's scrapping to not be in last place on the GTPs. That Budweiser Cadillac definitely had a misstep somewhere.
Yeah, and that was side-by-side to the opening complex, the 2-3-4 complex, which I didn't expect side-by-side to work there, just as narrow as it is here. But good battle here. This is for the Pro Division down in GTD. Sermon has it, and Chris Stewart wants it there as heading off into turn number 1. Again, this is the most difficult part of the racetrack here. Track map up on the top of the display. Hard on the binders here for turn number 3. And then a little uphill turn 4. This will get the car a little bit light on exit. And now you're setting yourself up for a potential slipstream opportunity into the very sharp turn number 5.
Yeah, I mean, turn 5 is a pretty, it can be a pretty sketchy turn at times. It's such a tight hairpin. I remember actually the first time I ever commentated for PTR TV was at Elbows Out at this exact track, and there was contact between the GTP and a GTD. Back then we called it GT3 at that particular corner. So when traffic gets to that point, which I think it's going to be a bit sooner rather than later at this stage of the race, as we do have Dylan Ackley who trying to go ahead and try to shake for any kind of gap to get past Maxwell Woodman C here. Woodman C having a pretty solid start here in Portimao to kick things off for round number 3, but it's only right now, and to get any points off of this, you gotta be in the same position at the end of the hour. So we'll see if he can keep it, or is Dylan Ackley going to go ahead and follow through. A driver that we know has no issues with following through is Cody Perodato. The reigning champion is doing pretty solid here in his Acura, leading from Nick Terrell, but Nick Terrell is going to try to put him under pressure. We know that the Porsche 963 is a very, very stable car. It's very well balanced, and it is a fan favorite for a reason, as he's trying to chase down the reigning champion here in Cody Perodato. And just behind, we have a fantastic battle in LMP2. Maxwell Woodman C, Dylan Ackley, and Kjell Haugen all scrapping for P2.
Now, this is a great battle there, as Brian Metterly is about a second and a third ahead, but as these drivers come through turn 9 and into turn number 10 and 11, which is the 90-degree right-hander, looks like Ackley has gotten a little bit of a gap, and he'll take that advantage. Wouldn't see his back there in third. Haugen starting to drop back, and just as soon as it comes together. But something that could be affecting them is the aero wash there, Patrick. A flat track like this at the high speeds, it is pretty difficult to get behind someone in high-speed corners. You will lose the handle, lose the grip on the nose.
Especially through turn 15 at Gulp, that air wash is going to be really aggressive. The dirty air, whatever you like to call it, it's going to just be pretty brutal, especially when you get through some of the tighter sectors of the track, like around sector 2. It just gets really, really difficult. So that is something the drivers will have to really pay attention to, especially in some of the more aerodynamically sensitive cars, like your GTPs, like your LMP2s. And we have a driver, I mean, we've seen Michael Bowman do some pretty impressive stuff, but normally he's running a Venom livery. This time he decided to come back to the light side as Spider-Man this time around. He does have Benjamin Bechtel right behind him, trying to go ahead and make use of the slipstream. If you can get a good run out of Gulp, then you have a very good shot here to try to get the overtake going into Premiera. Turn 1, it's going to be late on the brakes, but did he outbrake himself? No, he surprisingly did not. I thought he was going to go deep there, but Benjamin Bechtel late on the brakes, Daniel Ricciardo style. And here we go. Traffic has officially begun.
Yeah, that was Haugen and Woodmansey getting around. I believe that was Aaron Claybot in the number 95 car. First bit of traffic we've had. But as we go back up to the front in the GTP class, our overall lead, Perodato's lead, it has started to drop just a little bit. Now, maybe it was a little bit of traffic, but maybe it was a little bit of pace. But as you can see right in front, that is a line of GTD drivers that are about to be in the way of Perodato and company. And we'll see how they can navigate. This is huge traffic. This could be very important.
Especially, I mean, you said earlier, traffic giveth and traffic taketh away. And we might see that here, as now they're going through some of the really tight corners here as they just made their way
Seth
through.
Vosselman, Craig Yor, all, and look at going around the outside, which not where you want to be. And then look at there, Nick Terrell. He's like, I can't get stuck. Can't go 3 wide here. This is Portimao. This ain't Daytona. Can't go 3 wide. And he went from 8/10 back and now 1.5 seconds back, and that pulls Stenik to his rear deck lid.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, and that's a perfect example of just traffic playing its hand here. We saw both it taking and giving away. So, yeah, I mean, Cody Paradonna was able to get through the traffic at such a good time. Pretty much right as Paradonna got through is when the GT3s kind of went 3 wide there, boxing in Nick Terrell, which pretty much, like you said, backed him right into Tyler Stenik. And Stenik now getting slightly caught up behind that Porsche, as now he is going to go chase down a Porsche while driving one of the 963s. And he's going to try to go ahead and catch up and maybe try to fight for a P2. But Paradonna's already done what he's been known to do here, and he's already about 2 seconds ahead. A driver who wishes he had a 2-second buffer is Brian Medderly, now getting overtaken by Dylan Ackley. He had a good run, a switchback maybe attempted, but not quite successful there. Dylan Ackley in the lead in that Soul of Racing LMP2 machine. The 145 in P1, making a very, very good strive here. He does have Brian Medderly not letting him off the hook that easy, but he's still going to give it everything. He's got a little bit of a brake lock up there for Brian Medderly, and he has to go deep into turn 5, into Torrey Vip, and that could have been disastrous for both him and Dylan Ackley.
Yeah, well, but luckily the runoff room was there, and he didn't have the pressure from behind. Haugen still a second back, so even after that mistake, yeah, he lost the chance at the class lead, and 3 seconds to gain, but still plenty of time. We're only 10 minutes in, 32 estimated laps left. Let's go back to this is about 14th in the overall GTD division, but this is Groninga and Cardona. They're going side by side with some traffic behind, trying to find their way by. And again, this is the fun of this place. A lot of technical sections, and as we said, just if you're one of the hypercars or the GTP, you're stuck. You have to wait until your opportunity comes. You can't just force your way by like you said at Daytona last week.
Yeah, but luckily for the 799 Acura of Aiden Garcia, he was able to find a good gap before he really got stuck in. And I mean, traffic management is such an important skill. And we always talk about how the GTPs and the LMP2s always would run into traffic quite often, but we have to think about it from the perspective of the GTDs as well, because they have to factor it in. And most times, they're almost like pigeons in a sense. You're almost never going to find just one. You're going to usually find a cluster of GTDs when you're trying to pass them. So they're all going to be in their battles. And we have an instant replay kind of showcasing some traffic.
Here is Seth Vosselman here. This is kind of our, I guess, our Benny Hill reel right now, if you want to say that. There's Kevin Schumann. And Steve Groninga, there was a trigger for him, but maybe it was too minimal to dictate here. But here's a good battle there in Hypercar. Haven't talked about Nerney here today, which is rare to not talk about Nerney this far into a broadcast, but he is battling with Dwight Hibbs, or rather Ethan Murphy. He is significantly ahead of Dwight Hibbs, but Nerney trying to get that top 5 in class, and it is right in front of him. But looking at the overall there, Patrick, the traffic took the lead down to 2 seconds. Terrell has gained about half of it back. So I'm starting to think as the tires wear and the rhythm gets set in that Terrell is certainly starting to have some pace and put a challenge up towards Cody perhaps.
he had a really strong pace last time out in Daytona, so this doesn't really is the fact that they're with LMP2s, you basically have the same car. You have the same chassis, same engine, pretty much everything the same. Now, you can share a chassis with these GTPs, but fundamentally with the engines and with just the bodywork, they are different cars. So different cars will have different balances, as we see a very good battle, a good balance of aggression and patience in this battle between Emily Milkey and Maxwell Woodman C. But we know that the Porsche 963 is such a balanced chassis that it's competitive at basically every track you put it at.
Which is great to see here as we switch over on the ticker to lap times, and that gives you a good indication of what the gap is between classes. GTP's right around a 134, 135, 2 to 3 seconds slower for the LMPs, but then an 8-second or so variance heading down into the GTD division. So that's what creates that massive traffic battle that we have been seeing. Our GTD Pro division is being led by Mike Sermon. He is up by a whopping 6 seconds over Chris Stewart there. So that battle will need some mistake to be brought back in. And then for our AM division, it is Josh Bibb, who is currently enjoying about a 3-second lead over Hemperly in the number 12 car, who is dealing with some faster traffic behind.
Yeah, you always got to be really careful too. I mean, the best thing is when you're these GTD, GT3s, whichever you would prefer to call them, you gotta be aware, you gotta be predictable. That's the best thing. I know typically unpredictability is the thing you want in sports, but when you have in this case of the GTDs, when you have an LMP2 or a GTP right behind you, want to be predictable so you minimize the chance of impact that could ruin the GTP and, more importantly, your race, as Kyler Grady is trying to hold on to P17 with Danny Pinero trying to find any sliver of a gap. He's going to try to think about the inside, but just ran out of real estate, ran out of tarmac. But he will have a good run, but somebody who is not too pleased to be behind all that traffic is going to be Zach Nerney in that BMW. He is going to be wishing he wasn't there. Actually, it's a different BMW,
yeah, it
think.
It was not Nerney. That was Dwight Hibbs.
That was his teammate. So Dwight Hibbs trying to get through traffic, and now he's on a really good straight. He's right after Gulp, gets that massive run on start finish straight, able to easily clear the GTDs, and he's going to continue on his way. But yeah, I mean, it's tricky to get past traffic, but luckily on this track there are some pretty good spots to get through, even if those spots are kind of hard to come by. As Nick Terrell now is going to hope that this, I believe it's a McLaren just up ahead of him and Cody Perodato, can hold up Perodato for a bit so he can try to jump back into the lead of this 60 minutes of Portimao here.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out who that was, but either way, going down the perfect place to catch somebody is, of course, right down the straightaway, so that way you don't have as minimal time loss as possible. So that will evade any serious issues there, but this is the closest the gap has been. Again, you have to remember that Terrell dropped back 2 seconds through the traffic. Now some pretty clear real estate, as you can kind of see on the map. There's that white dot right on the straightaway. That is Terrell, and you can look ahead of that. Not a lot of traffic for probably about a third of a lap. They might have 1, 2, 3 laps of clean real estate. So if Terrell is going to have something, this is the time to execute it.
Yeah, exactly. He's going to have to try to make the most of it, because, I mean, opportunities, especially when you have 4 classes, 3 different car types, it's these opportunities where you're in a top class where the track ahead of you is just pretty much empty. It's rare time, so you really just got to grab the bull by its horns and just make the most of that opportunity. And LMP2s actually have that a pretty nice buffer as well. They really only have to worry about themselves for the most part. There is some GT3 traffic just a bit up the road there, but for the most part, and actually we're seeing that's Kevin Schulman in the pits. He had a meatball and a black flag that he had to serve, so that's him coming out of the pits. Not an early pit stop per se, but it is one that is an unfortunate penalty, and I feel like we might see a few more of those because it can be pretty easy to lock the brakes and run a bit wide, like we actually just saw there from, I believe that was Brian Medley running a tad wide through the hairpin as they approached the traffic here with Matthew Marin and Seth Wasserman. You got Brian Medley now in the LMP2, trying to go ahead and make his way out through, trying to send it around the outside. Bit of a risky bit of business, but they both get through. Kjell Haugen, Brian Medley, nicely done by the pair of them. And now, they pretty much almost got clean air for at least a little while, but they're still going to battle each other.
Yeah, not too far. They do have, I think, maybe about 2 corners ahead before the next set of traffic comes into play, but just checking a look at some other things going on. Nerney into the pits right now. Not sure if that is scheduled or if that was due to any faux pas had on his behalf. I don't see any triggers or not, so. But yeah, Zach Nerney, and he is pulled behind the wall, has the 31.
Yeah, indeed. So we'll just have to see how all these play out. Nerney being the first one to the pits. We'll see if that triggers more pit stops.
He's out of the race. He's not just in the pits. He's out of the race. He's taking it behind the wall. I don't see anything that happened to him, but
it seemed like he was having a pretty good race, honestly.
4th or 5th in class, seemed to have some pretty decent pace, but
that's a wide moment. I think that was that was definitely a GTD going wide.
That was,
there. I think that was
Christian
Schulman.
Cardona in the 313. And Terrell dropped back a little bit again, about 1.5 seconds. But seemingly the best battle that, has sustained most of the race has been Haugen and Metterly, 2nd and 3rd in the LMP2 class, as Ackley is 6 seconds ahead and really showing no sign of mistake. But these two just absolutely cannot separate from each other. And it's obviously some pretty good stuff to see. Nice, clean racing, and you can see the slipping and sliding. Perhaps those are the rear tires starting to give out, Patrick.
Indeed, and you got a lot of really aggressive corners that can really heat up the rears, which could cause that loss of traction, especially around some of these high-speed corners like Gulp and Primera, which can be a pretty high-speed corner as well. So they're now going to go ahead and make their way through traffic, and now we jump to the current GTD Pro leader and GTD overall leader of Mike Sermon. He had a very, very good start. He started pretty far down the list, but he has shot his way up into the lead of the GTD Pro class, and he is having a good time out there tonight. 8 seconds ahead of nearest rival Chris Stewart, almost 9 seconds now. So these guys are absolutely having a blast here. The race leaders are having a pretty solid night here, all things considered.
And then you go back
Traffic hasn't really played as much of a factor as we thought it did.
And then you go back to 10th place there in the GTD class with the pros, 10th overall. But Hugo Ortiz, remember, he started first in the pro division there in GTD, and unfortunately for him, made a faux pas on lap number 1, turn number 1, and has just been playing catch up ever since. And he's basically kind of capped where he is at this point. He's kind of just stuck in one of those bubbles, and you just have to kind of self-motivate yourself, Patrick. With position-wise, you're kind of locked where you are. He's not, barring any catastrophic mistakes, going to gain any pro positions. So he just has to keep himself motivated, keep the car on the track, and just, make do with what the race presents.
Yeah, exactly. So, sometimes the best course of action is just to not stress about it, because like anything, really, if you stress out too much is when you really start making mistakes. So if he can just kind of keep his calm, keep his cool, and just stay focused, then he could actually serve to benefit quite nicely if the cards fall his way. Another driver that has to really keep his focus in checking out is Joel Bandera with a very rapid Nicholas Paletti, trying to look for any type of gap that is remotely there. And he is going to try to jump into a podium position here for the GTDs, as he is following very closely to Joel Bandera, trying to wait his turn. He's not taking any unnecessary risks, not trying to send any ludicrous dive bombs into any of these corners, because he knows if he gets a good run through Gulp, he does go a bit over the white line, so that if he's not careful, that could result in a black flag penalty. But if he can get a good run out of Gulp here, he should be able to get a good slipstream to try to catch. But the Aston Martin seems to be very, very down in on the straight. So Nicholas Paletti, even though he did get a pretty decent run out of turn 15, just wasn't really able to maximize it. But he certainly maximized those first couple of corners there, and he's really closed that gap pretty much right back up. Yeah, now the gap has increased quite a bit between more of the leaders. Cody Perodotto actually might have been benefiting from some of the traffic.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
Yeah, sure enough, Nick Terrell once again just getting stuck.
I want to take a look at this. I want to take a look at this on PTR TV replay, because he had the gap down to 0.7 of a second, and just watch this sequence of being stuck. Again, this is the worst possible place. It's kind of a double apex right-hander. Now he's stuck 3 wide, and he doesn't want to wreck anybody. He put that Marlboro car into a precarious spot, but he's trying to be respectful, but also trying to keep in touch with the class leader. And again, this cost him about 2.5 seconds to Perodotto.
And I think that is the exact same spot where he got caught up last time when he was trying to chase down Perodotto. I think it was that exact same corner and almost that exact same situation. And that's one of the things that has made Cody Perodotto such a strong contender over the last couple of seasons, is the fact that he's been able to become almost flawless when it comes to traffic management and just cutting through the traffic. That is one of it. I mean, obviously the raw pace is there. We've seen that pretty much week in and week out. And anyone who's been around Elbows Out Racing for a while knows that Perodotto is a rapid driver. But traffic management is such an important skill, and he was really strong in it in the LMP2s last season, and now he's showing that he's good at it again, as we have Benjamin Bechtel and Christopher Ondera going at it once again. It is Porsche versus Aston Martin duking it out here, going through the twisty, very twisty Sector 1, just making their way. And they do have Dylan Ackley just behind in the LMP2, who himself actually has a pretty sizable gap to Kjell Haugen. But as a race driver, you want to keep it that way, and that is
Dwight Hibbs,
the last remaining BMW of Dwight Hibbs, going wide there to try to not run into traffic.
Yeah, which is a respectful thing. I mean, you just learn what you have, and now he's going to pull into the safety of pit lane here as another battle. Emily Milkey and Kylan Bruce, they have been in close quarters racing for a significant portion of this race, and here they come off of turn number 5, and some traffic to be actually not turn number 5, but let's just go back and take a look at some other action. Perodotto is up front. And look at, here's an opportunity. Here is an opportunity. That's Perodotto. He's stuck. This is the karma. This is the turnaround that Nick Terrell needs. But as you were alluding to, Perodotto, someone who takes advantage of traffic and slices and dices, and not losing nearly as much as Terrell did prior.
Yeah, and I honestly think that that's how this race is really going to just be decided, is who's going to get through the traffic the best. Now, here's what things get dicey. You got LMP2s and GTDs ahead, all trying to get through and try to sort traffic out at the same time. But I think Cody Perodotto's been able to really just maximize it. Coming through Gulp is when he kind of times his traffic. And now he's going to just fire on past Kylan Bruce. to get ahead of the LMP2 driver. And once again, and actually it took Nick Terrell until the end of that straight going into Premiera before he could get past his LMP2 obstacle of Emily Noki. A quick drive in a row.
Oh no!
Wide, and that's going to allow Nick Terrell to close in the gap. Exactly what he wanted.
Let's quickly just take a gander at what happened to Perodato there. The first real faux pas of the race. He got loose on entry. Big wiggle. And now, oh no! Who is that going out and around? That is Kylan Bruce.
Oh no!
And he feeling the heat from Terrell. He felt Terrell trying to get through as quickly as possible. I don't think there was contact. That may have been aero, may have just been overreaction. But now Terrell has eaten the gap up, and we're not done. We have some LMPs in front. That's Woodmansey and Metterly. Metterly trying to get, rather Maxwell trying to get out of the way, locks it up. And who's going to pay the price for it? Nobody. And is this going around the outside? Ooh. Terrell trying to make it happen. May have been a little overly optimistic, but you got to appreciate the effort.
Oh, and he almost gets right into the back of Perodato there, so really close. And I think this is Nick Terrell's best opportunity to try to get an overtake. He's going to go ahead and try to benefit as much from the slipstream as possible, trying to close in the gap. He's going to close it in, but once again, just not quite enough. Perodato doing exactly what he needs to keep that gap. But now that Nick Terrell has his gap closed in, he is not going to let that go easily. He is going to be that meddling Porsche that is constantly going to be in the rear view mirror of Cody Perodato. And now there's even more GTD traffic just up the road ahead.
Bechtel, who's going to be the next one on the chopping block. And this is through a very rough... Actually, this isn't too bad here. If they can get through this sector, they have a little bit of an opening till 11 to make something happen. But there's Perodato. Oh, Bechtel again, slicing and dicing. Here's Terrell trying to get through. And that 372, Hugo. And now we set ourselves up for turn number 13. And again, Terrell is going to lose the momentum. He wants to get a little bit closer so that he can get the run off of 15 and down the front stretch with the slipstream. But he's right on the cusp, needs a little bit more to take full advantage of that.
He has just not won the lottery when it comes to traffic placement, has he? We are pretty much exactly halfway through the race here. He gets a pretty good run out of Gulf that time around, and now he's going to try to benefit from the slipstream. Pretty clear track up ahead for a while at least as they make their way through. They're not going to hit that actually until the hairpin probably.
And it is LMPs, so the next two are LMPs, are Metterly and Haugen, so at least the closing rate won't be as drastic between them, which certainly will help. But now it's game on right now, and as we now just hit the halfway point in our race with now sub 30 minutes to go, you know, you expect the pit stops. You know, I think, Patrick, you said the pit stop should be right around the corner. And, you know, Perodato may be praying for those fresh tires because obviously Terrell has the long run pace and all he has to get is the traffic to go his way, and he might be able to drive off into the sunset if he can get the lead and have things go his way.
Yeah, but here's the difficult thing about that one, Corey, is that you can pit in right now, but you're going to end up in so much traffic, and these GTPs on cold tires, you're basically a newborn doe on an ice rink. It is not easy.
I like that.
You're going to be sliding around quite a bit. I mean, the track temperature is pretty moderate out there. It's 72 degrees Fahrenheit on track, 22 degrees Celsius. But it's, I mean, your tires aren't going to warm up as quickly as they would, like if we're in the middle of the desert, like Bahrain, Qatar, Saudi, etc.
This is Haugen and Metterly. They're going side by side for this second position. Ackley 6 seconds up, but now we have some GTDs and some LMPs, all three right on screen at the same time. And let's try to have an overall race lead at the same time, Patrick.
Yeah, this is like scary stuff here. If you're anybody really, Nick Terrell does get that lead, and now you got pretty much two leads, or two podium battles really happening at the same time. Cody Perodato within sneezing distance of Nick Terrell, and now going 3 wide with the LMP2's contact. Brian Medley having to go a bit wide there as they go through the Samsung corner.
Wait, Terrell has the lead.
Terrell does have the lead. Yeah, we mentioned it just a moment. He got it. He played his cards right, and finally, he was able to get away with it, even with that meddling Acura of Nick Terrell.
Yeah,
Perodato.
Yeah, I think we may have missed that. I just want to catch it real quick because there was so much on screen to focus at. Oh, but beyond this, yep, here it was. This is through the massive situation here. Just he got stuck down behind that red, white, and blue car, and Terrell just went right around the outside. Somehow, just so much on screen, we just missed that massive situation. Do have Perodato in the pits. Pulled the audible, just got past. May as well pit right now. Shake up the strategy.
So Cody Perodato got a taste of, I wouldn't say his own medicine, but he did pretty much get a taste of what Nick Terrell was kind of stuck with, just getting kind of boxed in by several GTDs at the same time. That's always what held up Nick Terrell for the longest time.
Oh, Ethan Murphy.
A crash in the pits from Ethan Murphy.
Well, that wasn't on my bingo card. Let's see what happened on the PTR TV replay. He went in full song. And then it just hooked.
I mean, I haven't driven Portimao a ton, but yeah, there's nothing there. So that's got to be like a wheel failure.
Or that, or when he downshifted, it just, maybe there's a bump or something, and it just bit when he downshifted. I mean, don't quite know, but that's a rather extreme situation. Liam Bronco into the kitty litter. And he seemed to just have massive braking issues and or just completely overshot it. Oh, he was off on the curb. Yeah, he couldn't. That car was straddled on the curb and it wouldn't do anything except go straight. Here's Terrell into the pits. Getting right after the lap after Perodato, which is, again, you always want to stay on the strategy of your competitors. If you are leading the race, stick with your competitors. There's no sense in doing something off kilter and waiting any longer than necessary. Perodato is now in turn number 10, 35 seconds back. And as a relation, it's about a 51-second box time here from lane to lane to complete your pit stop.
So I think Terrell might have a chance of coming back out on top of this one, as we do have Cody Perodato trying to make me eat my words here, as he's now just about to go through Gulp.
Exiting his stall here. Now it's going to be a drag race on the front stretch. Should be able to see Perodato there back of the shot. You know, we have a massive gap. It's going to be about 3.5 seconds.
About 4 seconds.
But Terrell's on colder tires. Perodato has a little bit of heat. Might be able to eat into it while Terrell gets those tires up to pace.
Yeah, the sun is shining quite a bit now here in Portugal, so that may bring up the track temperatures ever so slightly, but still, these GTPs on cold tires, you got to be real careful, especially when the GTPs first were added to the iRacing service. I remember they were slippery. Like any broadcast I would watch with these cars, they would just be so slippery on those ice cold tires shipped practically straight from Antarctica onto these cars. So if Terrell can hold on and kind of keep that gap, which he's already lost about a second or so, as Chris Stewart is now kind of putting, I believe that is Dylan Ackley, into a bit of a GTD sandwich here. And that's another tricky thing for the GTDs, because you sometimes have championship battles that just get kind of mixed around a bit. As now we have Chris Stewart just diving to the inside. The other Porsche goes wide. And
Joel Bandera exiting his pits.
Ortiz in the pits.
Indeed, Stewart currently being shown 40 seconds up. Sermon, remember he was, oh my goodness, what Terrell. Try to get some heat in those tires. Yeah. And look at the gap. We just talked about it being 3.5 seconds on the out lap. Well, just as soon as that happened, now it's down to less than a second as we get through some traffic through the opening complex here. Very difficult place to catch traffic, but that's how the cookie crumbled, trying to get by here the 378 car. That is Mike Sermon, who was the GTD Pro leader for a large portion of the race, being shown second in class to Stewart as it stands, but that's only due to a pit stop.
It's always a scary thing for these drivers when you have Cody Perodato just now kind of in your rear view mirror. There is a Porsche there, and he will go ahead and get around, but we know, oh, and that is Ethan Murphy having a bit of a moment, bringing up another PTR TV instant replay, and
lost it again.
Overcooked.
Just barely missed the edge of the Armco there, so evades any further damage, but time lost, and here we go, down to 2-3 car lengths for our overall lead.
This is gonna be a scrap right until the end. And oh, Nick Terrell goes super wide there, and that is not ideal. Perodato, smelling blood in the water, is gonna really close in the gap. Still a bit too much real estate there to try to get the move done before turn one, but you can just see how much he is really closed in the gap there. Almost thinking he might have a move. He thought about it, but he is going to lose about a tenth there. There is a Marlboro McLaren just up the road ahead.
Yorr.
And we will see if Craig Yorr is going to be a threat for this fight. It doesn't look like it is. Usually the GTDs in isolation aren't that tough to get by, but when you have a gaggle of them, that's when stuff gets dicey. But it looks like both of these drivers are going to go and make their way through the traffic, and they are going to continue on fighting tooth and nail, looking for any bit of performance out of their GTPs to try to get this overall race win.
Absolutely, and just to bring up some of the other class leaders who sometimes get thrown by the wayside, Dylan Ackley, he is leading by quite a margin of about 17 seconds over Kiel Haugen there for our LMP2 division. And then heading back down into GTDs. Again, for the pros, Mike Sermon will be the leader once Chris Stewart comes to the pit. Stewart has yet to. And Sermon has just been absolutely dominant in relation to, I think, Joel Bandera, who's the closest one he's been battling. You can see there the gap is, well, it just flashed by on the screen, but it's a lot. So really not much of a battle there. And then Josh Bibb leading in just the M division, I believe, so to speak. And he has a 7 or so second gap over Matthew Markley down there in the GTDs.
And I know it's always so, it's kind of tricky just to keep up with everything, especially when you have four classes of extremely talented drivers. But the racing is so good in all these categories that you're going to get a spectacle no matter which category you go to. But here we go. The spectacle is now who is going to go ahead and survive, as the LMP2 leader of Dylan Ackley makes his way into the pits.
Now
the question is, who else comes in? And that's another one. That is Kiel Haugen.
That'll be it for LMPs
as well. So the two leaders in the LMP2 category to just roll on into the pits. They're getting their pit stop. They're getting their fuel. getting their tires, getting ready to get back out on the track with about 18 minutes to go.
So really, we're only waiting for really Chris Stewart.
He is just taking over the lead with Mike Sermon pinning in that what looks like to be a Verstappen.com themed Mercedes. As Mike Sermon now going to try to come back and try to close things up. But right now, the gaps are pretty well spread out for most of the leaders.
Yeah,
and then you got the overall battle, which is still raging on.
And the only drivers we're really waiting on to pit are Stewart and Wedderburn. And once that happens, essentially the entire field will have made their pit stop, and we'll kind of be reset to see what we're going to have to finish out the last 17 minutes, which again estimates out at around 11 or so laps. I don't think I brought up the race sponsor here today, and of course we do always want to thank those who help put on today's broadcast, and that is going to be the California Sports Car Club Region, SCCA. That is the race sponsor. You can see the smaller version of that decal on the top right of your screen. I'm not sure who that driver sponsor is, but that is our sponsor, and of course we always like to give them their due.
The sponsors are what make things go around, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it is Kyle and Bruce who is sponsoring today's event. So thank you so much. It's Kyle O'Grady.
Yeah, I was going to say, I know I saw a car in here somewhere. I just couldn't remember who it was. There it is. Kyle O'Grady. There it is. That's the sponsor car there, and currently running 16th overall. I mean, I know I don't have the exact AM stat. Probably running about 9th or so in the AM class, but nice clean car today. Just having some fun, chugging some laps. And Patrick, I'm going to throw you off here. If our fans like what they see here, where are we going to be next week, you and Brad?
Well, of course, we're going to head to another fantastic circuit. A circuit I personally like, good old Watkins Glen. The full Watkins Glen layout. It's a fun track. It's classic, fast-paced, and a whole lot of fun.
Of course, the week that I cover is the track that I have the least experience on. When Daytona was last week, and Watkins Glen is the following week. That's just kind of the racing god saying, Corey, you're going to learn more racetracks, but certainly that'll be a good one. The super speedway of road coursing, it's not a verb, of road courses in North America. A lot of passing opportunities, so that should be a fun one.
If it makes things any better, we also, the round after that, we have a bye week on the 4th of February, and then we go to Road America.
Okay. Why? The racing gods, they're like, Corey, you're going to get your passport and you're going to learn some tracks you don't know. But yeah, I know those other tracks quite intimately, so maybe I'll have to tag along and just have some fun along with you guys. Again, Brad will be back. We will have our 4-class overlay back for that race. Brad has a intricate setup of how he puts that through, and prior to him getting on the plane, we just didn't get all that stuff transferred over, but hopefully we're doing a good enough job making sure that that GTD class gets the love and the separation it needs. And speaking of separation, Peridotto is getting a taste of Terrell's medicine, as you alluded to earlier in the broadcast, and now he is getting the short end of the stick with that traffic, as the 95 just got surpassed there, and that driver, I don't know why I can't find the 95 on my ticker right now. That is Aaron Claybaugh, and that gap now 2.5 seconds, so Terrell can kind of breathe. And looking at the track map, he has, I would say, probably 2 to 3 laps, maybe 2 laps of clean real estate.
The old saying goes, is what goes around comes around, and I think that all the traffic that hindered Nick Terrell earlier is now doing the same to Cody Peridotto, and it's unfortunate, but also it's such a good spectacle as we do see Nathan Hemperly looking to do battle here against Matthew Markley, as it is going to be Porsche v McLaren doing battle here in Portimao, trying to get the best slipstream possible. Going to try to close in the gap, but still too much real estate. Not even really any sense of trying to make a dive bomb there. You still got 13 minutes left to go if you want to score any kind of points. To finish first you must finish, as the old saying goes. And you don't score any points by running into the back of your opponent ahead. And oh, look at this gaggle of LMP2 cars.
Yeah, this is second.
No, that's a GTP. That's
Dwight Hibbs.
Dwight Hibbs.
Yeah, he is off, has not had a great day, but this right here is 4th, 5th, and 6th, I believe. Woodman C, Bruce, and Emily Milky's quite a bit further back. That was Haugen's, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Actually, Dylan Ackley and Brian Matterly, they are 1st and 2nd in the class. And again, Ackley, who I think we've probably given the least amount of airtime, currently up 14 seconds. And, you know, this really hasn't had a challenge, hasn't put a wheel off, hasn't made a mistake. He's just run the best race he can, as somebody, just as I say that, does the total opposite and goes off circuit.
You gotta be real careful not to overheat those rears.
Wedderburn, I believe.
Yep. Burned a bit too much of the tires there and just spun right around. I mean, we've seen that actually, I think, in that particular corner quite a few times here tonight.
We'll just kind of go on our little Benny Hill loop, so to speak. I got a couple other incident triggers here. This was Haugen. Little half spin there. And then we have Dwight Hibbs. I think we kind of saw some of that live. That was an interesting one. And I have another one for Haugen.
I know we've seen spin on that corner a few times.
And for you Haugen fans, actually no, that one is just just exiting the pits. Here is Michael Bowman. And I think that's about as far as I'll embarrass people here on the day, but that was quite enough of it. And up front, Terrell in a bit of traffic, a lot of bit of traffic. 2.7 was the gap entering the traffic. What will be the gap exiting the traffic, as that is Hugo Ortiz just in front. And now we're already down to second, Patrick.
This is when traffic is going to start getting obnoxious if you're Nick Terrell, because you got two classes of traffic pretty much right in front of you, but he clears them before the straight, which is going to be the crucial thing here. But Peridotto has pretty much gained quite a bit of time there, but he didn't quite clear all the traffic. That was going to be a crucial thing for him to do in the final 10 minutes of the race here tonight. And now we got some GTD action for you. Nicholas Paletti making a move on Joel Bandera to jump into a podium position here. A bit further down the road, we got Nathan Hempeley and Matthew Markley trying to go ahead and duke it out here for the P2 of the GTD AMS as they come through. And now Nathan Hempeley is actually getting repassed there by Matthew Markley. It is McLaren and Porsche once again doing battle, and it is a fun battle indeed to watch. Barely a second separate them as Joel Bandera now trying to reclaim a podium position, trying to get one onto Nicholas Paletti. He's not letting him go. He's trying to keep him on a short leash in order to try to get this pass done and dusted. But once again, you've got about 3 or so laps probably left to go.
Oh.
Maybe
Are they allowed to cut that much?
Probably less than that. If you are the GTDs, and a bit of a wide one for Nicholas Paletti. He paid for the whole track, and he's going to use the whole track. And he is going to be under a ton of pressure here from Joel Bandera. And he's going to try to hold on. He's going to be for dear life, as now we're in the final 8.5 minutes of this Portuguese extravaganza.
Yep, and again, the GT Pro leader Sermon, who, remember, he led a couple laps that Stewart led, staying out a little bit longer, but now it's up again that 8-second lead or so that Sermon enjoys over Chris Stewart for the GT Pro lead, and Josh Bibb up by 5 seconds over Matthew Markley. So that battle should be, barring any critical mistakes, all done and dusted. But there is Nick Terrell, our overall leader, just about to pass Bibb. Again, that's class lead versus class lead, and 1.5 seconds back to Perodato, who led the entirety of the first 30 or so minutes of the race. And then the traffic obviously gave Terrell an opportunity to make a very gutsy move on the outside, side by side, in kind of pace lap formation style traffic. It worked out, and Perodato made a stab at it, exiting the pits on the out lap when the tires were cool, but Terrell held on the challenge, and now he 7 minutes. Our back end software is saying about 6 laps, but 7 minutes, I think that's about maybe closer to 4 to 5 laps. So we'll see exactly how it is as we run off of 15 and tick off another one.
Yeah, and I think barring an incident there, I think Nick Terrell, I mean, he went from losing the traffic lottery to winning it. And so I think Nick Terrell is going to really enjoy having back-to-back wins here in his first season of Elbows Out Racing. And I mean, getting back-to-back wins in any series is excellent enough as is. I mean, you're going to be happy about back-to-back wins regardless. However, it's his first season in this league. So getting back-to-back wins and only your third race is really something special. And he's going to be happy about that one. He won't have to blame any middling kids, or better known as GTDs, for coming in second, because he is currently in the lead and making pretty good use of it, making use of that balance that Porsche 963 carries.
Absolutely, as he comes down through turn number 11 and heading into the little sweeper that is 12, into the hairpin that is 13, and holding on to about a 1.5 to 2 second lead on average. Let's try to find some other stuff going on here on the circuit here in the waning stages. Ondera and Hemperley having a little bit of a scrumple of sorts there in GTD, and behind that you have Bechtel, and just ahead of that again Hugo Ortiz. Remember, he went off and spun from the GTD overall lead on the first lap and really has not been able to recover ever since. So just kind of been mettered in the 7th or so in that overall class. So just doing the best he can there, but overall 5 minutes left, about 4 or so laps, Patrick, and seems like everyone is more or less solidified out at this point, and barring any mistakes, which we've seen plenty of, I think everyone's pretty much set where they are.
Yeah, especially when you get to like the last 5 minutes or so, you really just kind of want to get to the mindset of just bring the car home and try to maximize the points. Don't try to go in for anything risky, because it's better to come in second place and gain a pretty good amount of points versus try to dive for the lead and crash out and make up a 0. So I think pretty much now it's just bring the car home, and it looks like somebody might almost not bring the car home, as that is
Metterly.
Brian Metterly having a bit of a moment.
Yeah, that was a few laps ago, caused him to lose about 10 seconds to Ackley. And he was already, miles behind Ackley for the class lead, but that obviously just adds further insult to injury for that stat. Has a ways to go. Kiel Haugen in third. Kiel and Kylan have been pretty close the majority of the race, and they still are. I think this is the closest live battle pretty much on the racetrack, as they do have one of the GTD cars in front of them. As we click through, down to 3.5 minutes left to go. Just ticked off another lap, so doing about 1:30 around this place. That is, I think, 3 laps to go.
Yeah, about 2 to 3, depending on what category of car you are driving. As the sun is pretty much shining down here in Portugal, and Nick Terrell is just counting down to seconds. until he gets win number 2 of the season, firmly ahead in the driver's standings for GTP. And it has been a fun ride for him in that Mr. Machine. But his pace has certainly been no mystery here this season. But we know it's also no mystery that Cody Peredato is going to push until the checkered flag. He wants to get another win under his belt. He wants to try to keep that number 1 status here. But Nick Terrell has been giving him a run money in recent weeks. We've seen it in Daytona, and we're seeing it here in Portimao with less than 3 minutes to go. Peredato now trying to use everything that the Acura is worth to try to catch up. Dylan Ackman now pretty much has probably the best gap he could have really hoped for here. He was a rock star in LMP2 last season, and he's a rock star in LMP2 this season. He does have a McLaren just ahead of him that he's going to try to clear with ease, and he's going to just send it around the outside. Very easily done. Mike Sermon, GTD Pro leader, currently leading the pack by just about 8.5 seconds. He started at the back and really made his way up here today.
And of course, the last one there, Joshua Bibb, currently enjoying about 8 seconds on Matthew Markley, currently 5th in the GTD overall, but of course leading the AM class, the lower division of that set. So that is our 4 class leaders here with now a minute 30 to go. Now we're at that pivotal point, and we have to figure out where is the race leader, and he is about halfway through the lap. So this will certainly be 2 laps to go. So this will be a 38 lap race as things currently stand, and the gap to second in overall about 2 seconds. And Tyler Stenick, he is in the pits right now, and he just made a mistake. Turn number 1.
Oh, a pretty massive one of that. A very massive slide.
And he towed off of that.
Then
he took it right back to the pits instantly after that one.
It's been a bit of a teething period for Tyler Stenick, because he's a multi-time reigning champion in GT3. He was last season, so, and now this season he's stepped up to prototypes. It hasn't quite been an easy adjustment there for Stenick, but
that was tighter than I thought it. That was a lot tighter than I think Terrell would have liked it to be, getting around that Merc there, but he's going to have to, just kind of get back on his game here. He still has about a 2-second lead over Peredato here, entering turn number 5. So kind of a split bag there, Patrick. Peredato led the first 30 or so minutes, and Terrell led the second 30, and obviously the second 30 is the one that gives you the trophy.
He is going to go ahead and try to make sure that he can just bring the victory home, and he's got a pretty good gap. So I think, once again, barring a mistake, and hopefully that is not a commentator's curse waiting to happen, although we've had surprisingly few commentator's curses this broadcast, and not that I'm ever going to complain about that, but Nick Terrell has only got 2 more corners left to go, and then he's got the massive gulp corner. He's going to have to put his foot to the floor, maximize the straight line speed to bring it home. But Nick Terrell is going to get 2 in a row, and he's just on the home stretch now. Nick Terrell wins the 60 minutes of Portimao, and he's got it.
In the bag. Great job by the Scooby-Doo car there. Now our next class, waiting for our LMPs to finish, and that is going to be Dylan Ackley with a 27-second lead. He is in a wealth of traffic here, coming through 14 for the final time, and he'll round that large loose hairpin there of sorts, and he'll come through with a large lead. And Metterly never even had a chance. He just absolutely whooped him, and that is the definition of it, as Ackley will come down the front stretch, and he'll get himself the class win.
A very, very well driven race there from Dylan Ackley. Once again, another very strong performance from that 145.
Sermon
and then we
already
have
completed.
Joshua Bibb.
Yeah, Sermon already completed. He's off the track. He won the pro. And there is Josh Bibb getting himself the GTD-AM and getting himself that class win. So now that'll be our race there, Patrick. And I mean, you know more than I do about where this falls in the realm with the season and the storyline. So with Terrell getting a win, what does that shift in terms of the momentum in the standings?
Well, I will say Nick Terrell is definitely, he's got the momentum in his core. 2 in a row. He won at Daytona. He wins it here in Portimao, putting him in a very good spot to challenge a long-established favorite of Cody Peredato. And speaking of our race winner, we actually do have 3. Maybe we'll see if we can maybe go ahead and get 4. But without any further ado, we're actually going to go ahead and start with our GTD leader, and we will start the interviews with Mike Sermon, our GTD Pro winner, if he is ready to speak. And there he is, Mike Sermon, P1. Had a bit of a rough time in qualifying, but you certainly made up those positions. How's it feel?
It feels really good. I've been waiting a long time to get a win, and really excited. Lots of good competition out, so it's always been really challenging.
Yeah, I mean, getting through, compared to Le Mans and Daytona, this is a very, very different track. Traffic can really be a bit of a factor. What was your experience with getting overtakes and just managing traffic here tonight?
I was pretty lucky with overtakes for the start of the race. I think Hugo had an unfortunate spin at turn 1, but traffic was a bit of a headache. Lots of spins and traffic like that, but overall it wasn't too bad.
Yeah, it seemed like traffic seemed to really benefit some more than others. But we only got 2 more questions before we'll let you go ahead and enjoy your victory here, Mike. We're heading to Watkins Glen next time around. How confident are you in this track?
Very. Watkins Glen is my favorite track, so I'm hoping for another good result.
All right, last question of the night for you. Is there anything or anybody you'd like to give a special thanks or shout out to here tonight?
Yeah, I'd like to give a shout out to my wife, CD. She's been a great help. She's been very supportive. And my grandfather, Jim, who's really made it possible for me to do sim racing and got me started on the sim racing.
All right, well, congratulations on the class win, and we'll see you at Watkins Glen.
See you there. Thank you.
All right, next up, we're going to go ahead and bring up the GTD class winner, the GTD AM, if you will. It is Joshua Bibb. Now, Joshua, class win here today. How do you feel?
Feel pretty good, man. So I didn't know where I was at coming into this race, and I was pleasantly surprised with how it ended up going.
Yeah, I had some pretty good pace out there today. Do you think you could keep it up at Watkins Glen next week?
I'm familiar with Watkins Glen. I'm not familiar with Watkins Glen in the Lamborghini, which is kind of an interesting beast to drive. So we'll see. Hopefully.
Now, would you say that would you say it was a tough experience driving the Lamborghini at Portimao?
Actually, no, it was a joy. I think that this car is really, really well suited to this track, in particular with the speed that it can carry through kind of like middle high speed corners. As long as you don't get too ambitious on the throttle and bring the rear end around, like it's a really nice car to drive here. Like it's a flowy track and a flowy car, and when you get it right, it feels really good.
All right, last question before we go ahead and let you go enjoy here. is there anyone you'd like to give a special thanks or shout out to here tonight?
Yeah, first I want to shout out my girlfriend Liz. She's awesome. She's very supportive of this hobby, and I just really appreciate everything that she represents and does in my life. And then just all the guys in the All Fear No Rear racing group, which I said wrong, but whatever. Those guys are awesome. We kind of push each other to practice, kind of week to week, and it's good friendly competition, and I think we all get a lot of pace out of that. So, good stuff.
Well, it certainly paid off here tonight. Well, go ahead and enjoy your victory, Joshua, and we'll catch up with you next week at Watkins Glen.
Thanks, guys.
All right, next up, we're going to go to the LP2 class winner. It is going to be Dylan Ackley next up. And Dylan, another win for you here in the LP2s. How do you feel? Because it was definitely not an easy race for you.
Yeah, it felt good. It was definitely a challenge getting through traffic as quick as possible. Or not traffic, sorry, but the field, I guess, from starting from last. And traffic's really bad around here. At least for me, I find it really tricky. But yeah, it was a good race.
Yeah, I mean, compared to Le Mans and Daytona, where getting through traffic is usually a pretty easy affair. Not so much here at Portimao. How do you think you're going to fare when it comes to Watkins Glen next week? It's kind of like a mix of Portimao and Daytona, really, in terms of ease of traffic overtaking.
Yeah, I mean, Watkins is a great track. It's super fun to drive. Multiclass is still a little tricky, I'd say, but definitely better than here. So yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, I mean, how have you been liking the new 4-class system here with the addition of the GTPs racing?
Yeah, I think it's a good change. I love the GTPs. It adds a little extra spice to multi-class, I will say, getting passed by them. Yeah.
All right, last question before we go ahead and let you go here, Dylan. Is there anyone you'd like to give a special thanks or shout out to here tonight?
Thank you to you guys for putting together the broadcast, everybody, all the admin that put together this league. Great people. And shout out to my team, Soul of Racing. Mike's also a part of that. He just got a win, so congrats to him.
All right, well, once again, congratulations on the win, and we'll see you next time at Watkins Glen.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
All right, last but most certainly not least, the mystery machine whose pace is no mystery, Nick Terrell. All right, we'll see if we can get Nick on in here. And there he is. All right, Nick. Well, 2 in a row here. You won it, and you won again in Portimao. Traffic was a bit of a difficult one for you there for a bit, but overall, how did you find tonight?
That was as good as it could be. Once we kind of got a little separation, it was kind of a 2-horse race there. I just didn't want to let Cody get too much gap, so I had to keep slotting in where I could, and he was doing the same. And when the traffic giveth, traffic taketh, and came up to a congested area, and I just kind of guessed the correct side, I guess, that had the least a bit of congestion going through that turn 1, 2, 3 complex there, and that at least let me kind of get in front. And then it was a matter of just trying to stay cool to bring it home. Man, he's really tough.
Yeah, I know there's sometimes that actually both of you guys got really kind of boxed in by GTDs and LP2s at different points. So how do you feel it's going to be at Watkins Glen next time around?
As I heard someone else mention, it's one of their favorite tracks. It's also one of my favorite tracks too. So I've typically do several of the 6-hour races each year, and it's definitely one that got to always get used to the bus stop, because iRacing seems to do something different with it every year. And then I know the track limits are way tightened up compared to like a season or 2 ago now, so it's another thing to consider. So it'll be exciting. There'll be a lot more lapping because it's a quicker lap time, I believe, by a little bit. So it'll be exciting, I'm sure.
All right, and the last last question before we go ahead and let you go here, Nick. Is there anyone you'd like to give a special thanks or shout out to here tonight?
Yes, sir. Yeah, you guys doing the broadcast for sure. The league coordinators that handle all the announcements, the stats, the licensing, the points, everything that keeps it coming on. That keeps the nice organized group here. And then my wife Lacey for letting me have this as well, not letting me, but being okay with it, having this as a hobby or whatever. But yeah, it's just glad to be here and have good racing with everybody. It's really good, really competitive. That P1 through 4, I mean, we were like less than a tenth apart, P1 through 4, and then P1 was like 1,000th, P3 to 4 was like 3 or 4 hundredths or something, and yeah, it's like a blink of an eye. So just thanks for the close racing, thanks for good racing.
All right, well, once again, congratulations on your win. It was and we'll see if you can make it a 3P in Watkins Glen next week.
I'll try my damnedest. Thanks, fellas.
All right, so that's going to go ahead and wrap things up here for round number 3 of this fantastic season of Elbows Out Racing. Corey, any final thoughts before we go ahead and let this one ride off into the sunset?
Well, Patrick, you did a great job being lead, as obviously this is more your cup of tea and you knew these guys and you did a great job. Happy to help out. Brad should be back next week, assuming the world doesn't have an apocalypse with a winter storm and he gets trapped in Daytona, but he should be back next week. Make sure you like, share, comment, subscribe here on PTR TV. We will be back Sunday night with the Triple Bypass Cup Series, and then we'll be back on Tuesday with their ARCA Series, back here again Wednesday for more Elbows Out. That will be Corey and Patrick signing out of the booth. Have a great night, and we'll catch you next time.